This is true.
And
Good evening and welcome to week 4 of the European Sprint Series, brought to you live on the Total Sim Sport YouTube channel. I'm James Parfit, and shortly I'm going to be joined by the fabulous, the returning Chris Rowlands back into the booth after missing the first 2 weeks. Obviously, guys, we had a brief little Christmas break last week, so there was no broadcast from us last week. But here we are at the famous Daytona road course, the site in a couple of weeks for iRacing's Daytona 24-hour, which is going to be absolutely epic. And obviously the site of the Daytona 500. But we are on the road course with the famous bus stop, the International Horseshoe. And it's going to be absolutely amazing. Let's welcome Chris into the booth. Chris, welcome in.
welcome, James. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. Yeah, this should be a good race. I think, as someone who I'm a bit of a Road Atlanta hater, so I'm not too sad that we weren't there last week, and it means we can all spend time with our loved ones. Very different track this week, though. It's going to be a lot similar in a sense to Le Mans 2 weeks ago. And as we're seeing, just going around turn 1 here, I do think turn 1 is going to be the place to watch out for the most action tonight. That's not to say there won't be action everywhere else, but of course the other thing, last season when we were here it was midnight and now it's midday. Track temps currently 37 degrees, so expect that to factor quite a lot into the racing tonight.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, Chris, the track length itself is like 3.56 miles or 5.72k, right? Now, obviously, we were here last year and it was pretty manic going into turn 1. You know, with the LMP ones, I think we saw Taylor Mills, who had a massive lead, unfortunately come across a GTE that caused an accident in that very corner we've just seen live on stream. Now, tell us, is it going to be turn 1, or are we looking at the bus stop where it's going to be more opportunities? Because this track just gives so many opportunities with the draft. I just can't see it just being turn 1, Chris. I don't know what you think.
Well, we saw last time out, and I can't see this being particularly different tonight, that you had to set that move up. We didn't see many people going for moves into the bus stop chicane. We saw them lining up to try and take it on the draft so that they were ahead or at the very least alongside and clearly looking to overtake into turn 1. We didn't see any lunges. We certainly didn't see any successful lunges into turn 1. And I very much doubt we'll see much racing on the infield section. That's also going to be the really difficult part. If you're in a prototype car and you catch GTE, turn 4, we've all seen the iRacing compilation videos. It's just a danger zone. You can't get around the GT there, but I'm sure we'll see someone get impatient and cause problems tonight. But you know, you can see on the screen there, 5.2k strength of field in the LMP2. That's relatively strong. These are some pretty talented drivers. Let's hope they can back up that talent tonight.
Yeah, now we're looking at 5.2k, right? It's a very high I rating. I think, you know, us as commentators sometimes can only dream about being that high, but that's probably a good reason why we're in the booth, Chris. Now, LMP2's at Daytona 24 hour. Right? Are we saying then that there's a possibility the LMP2s could take away some of the LMP1 drivers and GTE drivers, do you think? Or do you think it's going to be a steady flow with them?
I do think that there will be an element of, so 5 of the lowest 7 iRating drivers tonight are in LMP1s. And I do think when the LMP1s come to lap the LMP2s, there might be some issues if they don't do it the sort of traditional LMP1 way of boosting out of exits of corners. If we're seeing LMP1s trying to do the overtake into corners, I can see that potentially causing a problem with say, I don't know, just for example, Michael Romanidis is a 7.3k driver. We don't know if that's all from the LMP2. Stands to reason he knows how to drive a car. So we'll we'll have to hope that the drivers can cooperate, because that is what multi-class racing is all about at the end of the day, is that cooperation. And they'll need to cooperate in 2 weeks' time if they're at the Daytona 24, if they want to stand any real hope of finishing.
Yeah, I think is that there's just sometimes with multi-class racing, Chris, that the unpredictability, despite what iRating I find you are, there's still that unpredictability certain times on track, isn't there? You know, it only takes one driver that you're following to lock up into the bus stop, and it could just all go wrong. But I don't know. I think I think tonight's going to be really close, and I'm hoping that we don't see any unnecessary lunges into the bus stop. But I can also see that specific area of the track being a height of activity. I'm
think that's
mixed
fair
that
enough.
that's where it's going to
I
be.
think we'll discuss it a bit more later, I suspect, but fuel saving and pit strategy is going to play a big part tonight as well. I mean, it does in every week for the ESS series. It's, again, the nature of multi-class hour-long racing, but I think that is exaggerated here because of just how long these straights are and how much time the cars spend at full throttle. But we can discuss that as we get into the pit windows a bit later, I suspect.
I think it's going to be an interesting one, because if you've got an LMP1 locked behind a GTE, or an LMP2, sorry, and then you've got an LMP1 coming, and the LMP2's gone for the overtake on the banking, the LMP1's going to end up right up against the wall. And as we've seen previously, that doesn't always work out well, does it?
No, there is an element of etiquette. If you're the car being lapped, you're meant to sort of stay online and let the person go around you. But as we've seen before, that's not always how it happens. And in sort of iRacing officials, these aren't necessarily drivers that know each other. You're more likely to run into incidents.
Yeah, Chris, the grid's appeared on the screen for us. So why don't you run us through the grid for the field this evening?
Yep, so we've got the LMP1 field on the grid there. So we've got some familiar names at the front, with Simon Cowlarts on pole and Ollie Cole alongside him. And of course, Simon Cowlarts won last week in the Atlanta. So we'll have to see if he can make it 2 for 2. Neil De Backer, he's in third alongside James Wallace, followed in fifth by Roberto Barbu and Luke Santos, another few familiar names. Dominique Englicht is in seventh alongside Guillaume Peepers. Only 2 seconds separating the top 9, with Jim De Backer in ninth and then Maurice Jasinski in 10th. And then another familiar name not qualifying in 11th, Jan Curbs. We'll see if he can charge through the field yet again. Mika Rodriguez, the other non-qualifier in the LMP1 split. In LMP2, we've got Michael Preston on pole with a 1:32.9 alongside Michael Romanidis. Not much separating them there, just over 100th of a second, so expect that to be a close race. Hugo Brandau is third alongside Georgios Theodoridis, and then fifth is Owen Carroll and Michelle Sangali in sixth. Argenis Riera, Jorge Domenech are in seventh and eighth. Andrew Dawson is in ninth, and the top 9, as you can see on the screen, are separated by less than 0.6 of a second on a 92-second lap. So again, going to be competitive in LMP2. Dylan Freckleton is in 10th, followed by Guerlain Massing and Jackson Freer, neither of whom elected to set a time. And then in our 15-car GTE grid, we've got William Barraviera on pole. We've seen him before. He is a quick driver. Asisao Sosa in second. Roman Verdolivo, again, this is a bit of a who's who of quick GTE drivers here. He is in third, alongside Bernie Bucher. And then third row is Soren Kolodziec and Jean-Luc Denaya. Seventh and eighth is Richard Highstand and Vince Scorsad. Eustace Cantor, Side Bashoa are 9th and 10th, followed by Andre Pecker and Leiden Lee. And again, that's a top 12 separated by less than a second. Jorge Diaz, again, it was within a second in 13th, as is Albin Kjellberg. And then Rambo Jules, who has elected not to set a time, And we'll see if any of these drivers who haven't qualified, if they're just playing it safe, are they going to go for a funky fuel strategy and try and gain places that way?
Yeah, so here we go, guys. As you see, we started on track just before the bus stop we've just gone through. We're expecting the pace car to peel off to the left, and then the LMP1s are going to be going. There's this customary gap between the LMP1s, LMP2s, and GTEs. Now, as you've seen, full grid has come through, and the pace car will be peeling off. Now, obviously, some familiar names in tonight: Jan Kurbs, Jim DeBacker, Roman Valdolivo, and there's also a guy that I haven't not seen is Albin Shelbear, who we last saw in the ISRC, but we are going to be going live, guys, on the LMP1s. And as you can see, Ollie Cole is in second place at the moment, but Carlots and Babu are in first, second, third, fourth, with Neil DeBacker in sitting down in third. They all seem to have got through the first corner quite comfortably, and down in LMP2s, we've got Michael Preston out in front. He's cleared the field by 0.79, and there you go, Theodoros is run wide. Unfortunately, it's put him down in fifth place at the moment. But that is the LMP2 field clear of turn one, as the GTEs made it all the way through. Barro Vieira is out in front, Sosa is there as well, Heinstad is in the mix at the same time, all the way down to Jean-Luc Denaya in 8th place. There was a tag on screen, Heinstad has gone, coming into the International Horseshoe. We'll have to see who tagged him on that one. It's possibly, it could have been Lydon Lee. Chris, I was just about to say a clean start, and then Heinstad unfortunately visits the barrier, but the LMP1s, LMP2s got away cleanly.
No, I think that's a consequence of the higher track temperatures. It's also maybe a bit optimistic of us to assume that it's going to be clean when we're less than 3 turns into the race, because they were still very close together, and we were saying just how closely matched the GT field was. That's unfortunate to see, but we've still got 13 cars in the running in the GT field, so there's still plenty to be gained for the guys at the back.
Yeah, so we've got 58 minutes remaining. As you see on the left-hand side of your screen, we've got Cowlocks in first, Colt in second, DeBacker third, Wallace fourth, Piper's in fifth, Babu sixth, and Jim DeBacker in seventh in the LMP1 field. Down in the LMP2s, we got Michael Preston, Romanidis, Brando, Carroll, Theodoros, Sangali, and Riera. And in the GTs, we've got Barro Vieira, Sosa, Verdoliva, Kaledzeg, Lee, Bashoa, and Pesha in the top 7 on the field at the moment. But as you can see, we've got Hugo Brando, literally car number 3 there, car number 2, sorry, pressurizing Michael Romanidis, Chris, and this is looking spicy. You know, do they realise we've still got 57 minutes, Chris, do you think?
Well, they're behaving a bit better than some of the other classes are so far. As we can see an overtake here from, I believe, Englicht on Rodriguez, and yeah, I mean, it's a very tricky dichotomy. Make those moves now, take those risks for track position, or sit back and potentially lose time on the leaders, because Simon Cowlarts is already about 3 seconds clear of the guys outside of the podium places in LMP1. So it is tricky. What do? Do you make these risky moves, as we've already seen a few cars go out, or do you just sit back, save fuel, and wait for later in the race?
Me personally, I'm not a bossy driver, should we say. I don't have this aggressive streak in me. As we look at Ollie Cole there, he's got Neil DeBacker 0.23, and closing as these guys come across the start-finish straight. We see Ollie Cole taking the inside line, hopefully being able to cover the inside from Neil into turn 1. But there is room to go too wide, and as you can see live on screen, he is going to go. Neil has just settled him back. He's looking for the cutback down into the horseshoe. He looks like he's got a lot better run going through this little tricky infield section. They're going to be hard on the brakes. Round they go, the horseshoe guys, and off to the run out into the little left kick of turn 4, through to the right handle of turn 5. Here we go. We've got Neil DeBacker now 0.39 seconds back from Ollie Cole. Lost a bit of time in the early infield. Mika Rodriguez there, car number 24, is battling Englick, Chris. And these guys were close together, swapping places again, but swapping them again before they get onto the banking. Now, this is where I Chris, would take the route of Rodriguez. I would kind of let Englick go. As we see Pesha and Jules now, they're having a battle as they're coming round the start-finish straight into turn 1. They settle behind each other. Car number 34 is out front. That is Jules, and he's got Pesha right up behind him into turn 1. Down through the gears, second gear, looking for that run out up into the horseshoe. And I don't think he's going to get him this time, Chris, on this infield section. Now, I can't see the infield being, an overtake position. I think that run down to the bus stop, that run down to turn 1, But what Rodriguez did there was letting Englick take the lead, Chris, going into the banking, and then he's going to come back at him with a draft, isn't he?
Yep, and you can gain quite a lot of time over that, but you see just how close they're getting there. That's Owen Carroll with Hugo Brandao just in front. Trouble with making an overtake into the bus stop is you're just going to be vulnerable going into turn 1, and it's compromising your exit, and you can see how many cars are close together here. If you compromise your entrance into the bus stop, you're not going to lose the place that you're battling with there. You're going to lose the place behind as well. As we can see, the Englicht and Rodriguez battle continues with Jan Kurbs, I think, getting quite frustrated behind. He's already flashed these guys once. I suspect he thinks he should be further up the field, but this is what happens when you don't qualify.
Yeah, but then we've seen Jan Kurbs in his position. We saw it pretty much most of last season, Chris. Even when he did qualify, there were times that he was in 7th or 8th, and he still come away with a win. I think we saw it in Sao Paulo and a couple of other tracks with Jan. So, you know, seeing that isn't a thing. But we've got Owen Carroll has just got taken by Theodoros there into the horseshoe section. That means he must have got a good run out of turn 1. As you see, we've got Carl, Michael, Preston, Romanidis, Brando, Theodoros and Carroll all separated by literally less than about a second on track. Sosa there, Verdalivo is tucked up right behind Sosa. He gets Sosa again down into turn 1. And we've got Barraviero, Sosa and Verdalivo. So we've got the 3 leaders of GTE, the Ford, well, about 4 or 5 cars in LMP2. And unfortunately, Simon Cowlot's now led Chris 4.5 seconds down the road. He's kind of just cleared off, left these guys to it, and he's gone on about his business as he normally does do. But
yep, that's true, but we're only 5 minutes into the race, and plenty can still happen.
That's exactly where I was going, Chris. And on the track map, as you can see, he's 5 minutes in, 7 minutes in. And already we're seeing on lap 4, Chris, the GTEs. He's coming up to the GTEs. And we know how bunched together they are. And they're not going to give away places, are they?
No, they're not. They're in their own battles. But the advantage you can sometimes have if you're clear in the leading class is that you don't have to take the insane risks that some of the guys further back will have to. And that can just play out throughout the race because you're taking fewer risks. You end up gaining more time because you're not getting into these silly scrapes. You're not having any issues. But you can see Jan Kurbs really struggling to make his way through the field so far today. But again, is he playing the long game? We've seen his pace before. We know he's not a slouch. So, and as you can see there, just the pace difference between the GTs and the LMP1s. He's definitely not pushing super hard, I would say. He's not really looking that hard to get past Englicht here. Because I think he knows that if he does that, he's still going to get past Rodriguez. And again, it's just maybe that little bit too risky.
Would you look at, though, Chris, trying to jump Englicht into the bus stop and then using Rodriguez to break the toe on Englicht behind?
I think you're not playing the long game doing that because you're just going to lose out in terms of... I know Jim DeBacker is further up the road, but it's only about 3 seconds. If you start making moves that are costing you both time, that's going to be more than 3 seconds. That's going to be 6, 7, 8 seconds, and then suddenly you're looking at something that you just can't get past. And of course, the nature of Daytona, because you're at full throttle for so much of the track, there's not actually that many places you can gain chunks of time per lap, especially if you're on the same strategy, same fuel load, same tyre wear. So you've got to play the long game, even in a sprint race like this.
I think what we're looking at here, Chris, this reminds me of almost the DRS train in Formula One. You know, you've got Brando at the front who's trying to get away. He's clear 0.45, right? Preston, Romanidis, Fedoras, Carroll, Segali, Riera, Dominic, all just not seem to be able to break the toe from the other one. You know, as we see that, though, I talked too soon. Romanidis has gone up the inside of Preston. He looks... Oh, I thought Preston had an issue there, Chris. He looked very slow at one point. But Romanidis has got the job done and he has passed Brando. But there is still 5 cars in this pack that does leave him open to be able to get caught again going into the next section of the banking. This is where Daytona really comes into his own with that 2 long sections, isn't it, Chris?
Oh dear.
Oh, who was that? That was Neil DeBacker.
An assertive move by Ollie Cole is the very generous way I'll describe that.
Oh yeah, Neil DeBacker
very much
went off with Ollie Cole. We see his brother Jim there on the left-hand side up on the banking. He's gone past him. Go and get
revenge.
Well.
Catch up with Ollie and get revenge.
Oh, let's not hope that. I think that we'll have to have a look back. We just literally saw the tail end of that. I think we'd need to see. But that's Jan Kurbs is up past Englicht as well. So that now brings him onto the back of DeBacker. And we've obviously got DeBacker, Rodriguez and Jim DeBacker. So it's going to be interesting to see. But here we go. Chris, take us through the replay.
Well, actually, I mean, we were saying Ollie Cole was being aggressive, but I think what happened there, let's call it a racing incident. I think Neil DeBacker ever so slightly understeered when he went over the curb, because where Ollie Cole was, I'm not really sure he could have given any more room, and it's unfortunate, and I don't necessarily think that's anyone's fault whatsoever, but it's really cost Neil de Backer a lot of time and places.
Well, we see now we're on board with Engler. He's down in ninth, but Romanidis out in the LMP2 field. Hugo Brando 0.05, guys. They cannot be closer than they are now unless they're touching, and then that would just completely end in disaster. We've got Brando, Romanidis.
There's the disaster.
Was that Carroll? Preston? Was it? That was Preston. Preston has gone off. Oh, what happened to him, Chris? Did you see it? I must have missed that at the moment.
It looked like a little bit of a tap under braking from I'm not entirely sure who. I'm not going to assume who it was, because that's not fair on them if I get it wrong. That looks like it was Theodoridis, because he's just apologised on voice chat. So that's the number 11 car. Let's see if he does make just the slightest of contact.
Just that slight tap, unfortunately, sends the LMP2 of Preston round. As you say, you've got Chris listening into the voice chat in the race, guys, to see if we can hear anything that would give us a little bit of snippets of information. Now, we've got Simon Cowlotz is closing in on the LMP2s. Chris, 7 laps in. You know, these aren't going to be as easy as the GTEs. You know, he cleared through the GTE field within about a lap, maybe even less than that. But it's literally like he's going to be at the back of the LMP2s, and that's going to be a different scenario altogether, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, and especially where this front pack of the LMP2s are so tightly packed in together. I think we are going to see incidents, maybe not with the leaders LMP1s, but when some of the back marker LMP1s come through, if this sort of pack of 6 is still together, I can see there's going to be probably an incident here. Is Romanidis going to go for a move this time? Nope, he's quite happy to sit behind Brandau at the moment. And I think they're working together quite well, because they have gapped Carroll ever so slightly. It's up to just over a second now. If they can work together a little bit longer, if they can get Carroll out of the draft range, that's when it's worth then going for the battle, because at the moment they could gain a lot of time just by hoping that Carroll, Theodoris, Sangali, Riera, Dominic battle each other. They could cost themselves so much time. And, Brandau and Romanidis can take those other cars out of the equation if they just work together for a few laps. They do seem to have a slight pace advantage.
But here we go. We've got Pessoa, car number 27 at the back of Leiden Lee. Now, it's a different story for GTEs, isn't it? You know, they've obviously got the tow. As you can see here, the gap is closing 2.9, 2.8, 2.7 and closing down quite rapidly, 2.3, 2.2. Now, these guys have still got that fairly long run down into this first corner. Is this going to be Leiden Lee? Is Pessoa's opportunity here to be making this move down into turn 1 on the back there, car number 27? Yeah, and he didn't get it done this time, Chris, but is he settling in, do you think? Or do you think he didn't look overly aggressive, did he?
No, to me, it might have just been camera angle. It did look like Pessoa dropped off from Lee ever so slightly, a few hundred yards before he hit the braking zone, which to me suggests he's fuel saving. He's lifting early. He's just trying to maybe eke out the extra lap or two and try to run an overcut, which can really make a difference. If you're pitting for a few less seconds to pick up fuel, it can make a huge difference. But we'll find out in the next half hour or so, because the pit window is only just really open. The MP2s, well, it's kind of open, but it would be a very, very odd strategy to go now.
Oh, 2-7, we've got Massing and Dawson. Car number 22, car number 17. That's Massing in on the back of these two. We've got Massing's in the front, sorry, I got my words out right. Dawson's behind him. They've just let the LMP1 car through. They were looking very close to into turn 1, but LMP1 seems to have got a little bit of a gap for Massin now to get a little bit break of freedom, but we're coming up to the straight. It's going to be the same thing. Is this going to be Dawson's opportunity going into the bus stop as we take the last left-hander, turn number 6, going out onto the high bank here? We see that gap close up. It's down to 0.27 and closing all the while. But here we go, Pessoa and Leiden Lee again. Coming down that start, finish straight. Pessoa is tucked up, right up behind Leiden Lee now. He's not been any closer as we go on board on the front. Is he going to be looking to take the outside line? He wants to get Leiden. Oh, he's lifted, Chris. I don't think he lifted there. He couldn't get the inside. Yeah, he couldn't get the inside line either. And as we know, the outside line, it is doable, but it's a more difficult line going into something, isn't it?
Yep, and actually this is pretty smart from Bishoa as well, because it's not just the fuel he's saving. He's not having to drive quite so aggressively. So we've got a battle going on here, so I'll let you take back over, James.
Yeah, we've got Barra Vieira, Sosa, Coletta and Verdolivo there. The top four of GTEs are very close together. That's Verdolivo in the 4. Car number 7 is at the back. Now, we know Verdolivo's pace. Chris, he won so many times last season. He come away with the overall championship as well. And he didn't even race. I think he missed a good 2. I think it was 2 or 3 races he missed. And he still won the championship. So Verdolivo is quick. Is he another driver that we've looked at before and gone, okay, there are times... Is he going to get frustrated sitting at the back of these 4? Or is he going to be wanting to get on with it? You know, what do you think? Because we know Verdolivo, and he's been generally quick. Is that frustration going to start kicking in? I know we've got 44 minutes remaining, but it is Roman Verdolivo.
In some ways, I think he's in the best position of all 4 cars here, because they've gapped P5, Bishoa, who has actually got past Leiden-Lee by the looks of it. So that fuel saving wasn't a long-term strategy for Bishoa. He obviously thinks he's got a bit more pace going on there, but I think Verdolivo's in the best spot here, because Barra Vieira, Sosa and Kolesiec driving pretty quickly here. They're going to start battling here, it looks like. They're going too wide to come down the back straight.
Kolesiec and Sosa, I think that's the job done. I think Kolesiec is up into second place. Is he going to go for Barra Vieira into turn 1 as well? I thought that was going to be a 2-place gain from Kolesiec there, but he didn't. He got the Sosa battle done, but Verdolivo's tucked up behind him. Now, obviously, Bishoa, we're talking about Bishoa being a little bit further back, Chris, but he was, Leiden-Lee, I believe, has just got back through it, but he was faster than the top 4 in the last time out, 141.38, when the guys had done 141.5, 5.4, 8.3, 9.0 and 8.8 respectively. So he was quicker, but he can't break the toe of Leiden-Lee, which doesn't allow him to catch up to these 4, does it?
It is a bit tricky, because those 2 really need to be telling each other, look, let's work together, let's see if we can catch them up, because that's one thing Kolesiec did very well there, was he signposted early what he was doing. Sousa let him take the position, didn't fight it, didn't cost either of them too much time, as we see the LMP1s coming through on the top of the banking there. And it just means this pack of 4, it's almost like, you know, those of you who watch just professional road cycling, it's almost like watching a peloton or a breakaway there, taking their turns at the front of the pack to keep going, to keep that gap to P5, P6 for as long as they can. Yeah, as Kolesiec just got past Barra Vieira.
Yeah, we've got Bishoa and Leiden-Lee, Chris, already cut across you there, but they're coming down into the bus stop. Again, Bishoa is sat further back. Now, you see the 4 leaders of GT getting away, but this is brought into the back of the field there with Jules as well. He's in the mix now. He's up into the back of Bishoa by 0.370 seconds. So Bishoa might have backed off, but he hasn't backed off and got back onto the accelerator, and that's brought him under the cosh from Jules. And obviously, as we can see, Barra Vieira Collector has got through now. Are we expecting him to clear off and try and break the toe, or is it just too difficult on this circuit, Chris? With the long straights, it's just such a difficult circuit to break the toe, isn't it? You've got to be at least half a second quicker each lap.
It really is, but as we see here, it depends how lucky you are with traffic. That's
car number 33. That's Ollie Cole.
That's all fine.
Oh, he was looking aggressive going into turn 1. He jumped the back 2, and I thought he was almost going to go for the other 2 as well. So that's, that was very close. But here we go again, another LMP1. You're going to presume it's got Piper's coming through. Car number 21 there. He's trying to get onto the back of Ollie Cole. He's probably about 2 seconds, but he is coming onto the banking, so the overtake should be a little bit more easy with their boost. But all the while, Collecting now is 0.78 down the road. He's cleared off a little bit. Sosa's got a little bit of a gap of 0.37 to Verdolivo. And unfortunately, Leiden-Lee and Bishoa are kind of lost out there. And Jules as well, because they're still 3.74 seconds back. So, you know, LMP1s do cause, and LMP2s, to be fair to them, Chris, overtaking the GTs can really affect the GTs' battles, can't they?
Yep, and it's not unfair, but it's a part of the racing. It's just something they're going to have to accept, so long as the LMPs aren't crashing into them, which I think I appreciate. A lot of GT drivers think that is all they do, and some of them will feel rightly aggrieved at times. On a different track, I think Kolesiec would have been able to get away there, because he was 7.5 tenths clear of Barra Vieira going into the back straight.
2 seconds there. Can we get a Theodora's Carroll battle behind? Going into turn one, these guys were really close together in LMP2, Owen Carroll and Georges Fiodoras, because they were literally slicing through Verdolivo at the back. I think at one point Verdolivo was the LMP, is a GTE in an LMP2 sandwich going along that back straight. That looked amazingly close from these guys. Carroll and Fiodoras, this is getting really spicy, and they're trying to get past these GTEs, but as we've seen, there you go, he didn't give him the gap, and we know, oh, he's dived, Fiodoras got off. He looks like, Carroll looked like he was very slow, and Fiodoras took the dive there, Chris, and didn't make it stick, and that was the problem. He was trying to clear that GTE, but he couldn't get the job done.
It's the hardest thing about driving the LMP2 is being quick under braking, if that makes sense. It's so difficult to get these cars stopped at the kind of pace that you need to be one of the top drivers here, and if you get it slightly wrong, you do what Theodoros has just done, and it's cost him massively. He was right in this battle, and he's gone right back down to P11 now in the LMP2 field. Still plenty of time to make that time back up though, but I'm surprised that's the first incident we've seen in this big bunch of traffic, because it is very, very busy on this stretch of track right now.
Yeah, but I think that was the thing, Chris. He tried to clear that GTE because he knew he kind of had to, because if Carroll had broken his toe going down the straight onto the banking, there was no way he was going to try and get that back unless Carroll had a really bad bust. So he tried to clear that GTE and literally just overshot the corner. Thankfully, he missed Owen Carroll. Thankfully, he missed GTE collectors at the leader there. But Carroll has now got Michel Sengali, and we've seen Sengali before. Sengali is generally naturally quick in his own right. I believe there was a swap at the back with Riera and Dominic there into 5th and 6th for the LMP2s. But again, Carroll has not got it easy with Sengali either, because Sengali is quick, and we've seen him before, Chris.
Yep, we have, and this is sort of the tricky thing for the guys in the LMP2 field, is that there are no weak links really. I mean, you think we've got a driver like Dylan Freckleton down in 10th, who's just running his own race. He's not gained or lost any positions. He's a 4K driver. We've seen him, you know, he's been a very good driver in previous races. He's just having to trundle around at the back, and I'm pretty sure if you put, like me for example, if you put me in here, I'd be showing just how good all these drivers are by probably being a lap down by now without having had any incidents. Such is the pace that these guys have actually got. It's sort of, sometimes with the stronger fields you almost forget how good all of the drivers are, and sorry for Dylan for just singling you out. I just sort of saw someone that would make a good example there.
Yeah, so we got Jan Curbs now, Chris, and as we say, he didn't qualify, but he's up into 5th position in the LMP1. I believe that's one of the backers on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, they're coming out the pits. Now, Jan Curbs is in 5th. Is this Jan Curbs is doing what Jan Curbs does, or what do we think Jan Curbs is up to here? Because he didn't qualify, he's up into 5th, he's one of the fastest cars in the top 6 of the LMP1s. Now we've got the leader doing a 125.3 Cowlots, but he's doing a 125.7. As we see there, we've got Michael Preston recovering back up. He's just gone past Andrew Dawson into turn 1. Again now, Preston has now got Dominic in front in the LMP2. He's 2.8 seconds down the road. There he is. You can see him at the top of your screen. He's having his own battle with Riera, so that should allow Preston to catch up. Curbs, one of the quickest LMP1s at this moment on circuit, 37 remaining. Are we expecting Curbs to go up even further than what looks like the 4th place he's already in, the 5th place he's in at the moment?
Yeah, I do think that 2nd is an incredibly realistic target for him. Simon Cowlots is going to have an incident, I think, at this point to get caught, because he has got a 15-second lead now. It really speaks to the quality of Simon's driving, because there's not been any incidents really behind him. That's not why that gap is there. That gap is there because he's quick and because he's fantastic at dealing with traffic. But I do think that is an element of what we were saying earlier about when you've got that gap, it's actually easier to lap traffic because you don't have to take mad risks. Yep. You can back off a bit, you can strategize a bit more, you can, you know, especially in LMP1, you can save your boost as well, which is going to make a huge difference. So I think it's a feedback loop, and Simon Cowlots is looking very solid at the near halfway point for the win, but still, again, you know, plenty can happen.
So Chris got Sengali and Carroll. I believe Sengali gave him a little nudge.
Bit of bump drafting.
Yeah, I think was that even Sengali trying to put Carroll off, or did he just underestimate the draft that he had there from Sengali? Welcome Seb in YouTube chat as well. Welcome in evening chat. Thank you, evening to you as well, young sir. Now we've got Dominic, and the battle with Riera is still ongoing all the while. That's allowing the recovering Michael Preston is now down to about 2.5 seconds. But here's this Bashoa Leiden lead battle still going on down into turn one. And again, Bashoa is still at the back, Chris. Now, has he settled for what we said? Is he fuel saving? And is he going to be looking for his later push after the pit stop, do you think?
I think it's an opportunistic thing more than anything. I think fuel saving when he can, but if the opportunity presents itself, I think he will take it. And that's what we saw the other lap, but then Leiden was just able to get straight back ahead of him. And I think there's an element of, they are only 6 seconds behind the leaders in GTE, so sensible fuel saving could see them launch themselves right into that battle for the lead. And again, all it's going to take is one sort of silly battle from the leaders, and they're right back into the clutches of them. So it's a bit of a holding pattern at the moment, I think. Yeah. And that's probably true in all three classes. It's quite an interesting strategic battle you get at this kind of track for an hour-long race. So it's bubbling up quite nicely at the moment.
Chris, Coletta's on the left-hand side. I thought he was letting Barriviera through, coming down into the bus stop, but Coletta took a very wide line. The Barriviera hugged the inside. I thought that was going to be Barriviera's opportunity, but he's also got Vertolivo. These guys are literally 0.50 seconds between each other, between Coletta at the front. Vertolivo's dropped a little bit now, so he's up to 0.6. I honestly thought Coletta was letting him through there, Chris. I don't know. Maybe that was just that he might have just come off a slowdown off the bus stop, but I honestly thought he was looking and letting Barriviera through. Barriviera is a bump draft. Coletta there going down into turn one. Coletta's got the inside, Barriviera on the right. He's run wide and touched.
Yeah.
That's Coletta off Barriviera, but all the while, the secret assassin of Roman Vertolivo is out in front. And Chris, I'm expecting Vertolivo to clear off down the road.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, he's obviously the biggest beneficiary of that, but yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I do wonder if maybe there was a bit of latency issues here, because you saw Kolodziec disappear briefly. There you go.
He's got again, but
I do wonder if he was in a slightly different position on Barriviera's screen, because it was a very odd bump draft to start with, because he was sort of doing it on one quarter panel rather than on the back of the car. So that is the risky run of bump drafting in a sim rather than in real life. That is doable, because obviously there's very little latency in real life, funnily enough. And
is that because we're on the same bit of track at the same point of time and the same point in our life, Chris?
Very, very possibly. And,
okay, cool. So
yeah, I see more bump drafting now between Sangalli and Carroll. That's
yeah, they're coming down into turn one. These guys have been getting close. Very nice. So, Chris, I'll have to remember that one off you there, sir, and we'll talk about that later on when we come to the end of the race to see if you can do one of your famous one-liners to close us out. But here we go. This is the Sangalli-Carroll battle, 0.38 into the infield section, past the Rodriguez International Horseshoe is the official name. And then down into turn 4, going to the right-hander on turn 5. We're going to be on the brakes just about the edge of the cones. We're going to be looking at down into second. You can go to first and get on the accelerator to try and get through the gears quickly, so you're not losing time in the LMP2s, but you're going to be hard on the brakes just about now. And there you go, down into second. Some people take first, others like the second gear and can keep the revs up. But here we go. This is the run out onto the bus stop. This is Sangalli going up all the way up into the final top gear of the LMP2s, chasing down Owen Carroll, 0.30 seconds, and he is closing. You're looking for just nearly after, between the 1 and the 2, there's a yellow sign. There it is, onto the brakes, down through the gears into third, on hard onto the accelerator now, up fourth by about now, and now you're off again. All the way down into turn 1, Sangalli and Carroll are looking racy, Chris, and I've got a funny feeling we might have a move down, materialising into turn 1, so we'll stay with these guys as we're heading down the last part of the long left-hander onto the start-finish curve. I'm not going to call it a straight. There you go, bump drafting up again from Sangalli. Coming down through Carroll, they've gone past the start-finish line. They're going to be going round turn 1 now. Has Carroll got on this opportunity? He has. Sangalli's looked for the cutback, got a little bit of a better run as we come through the first right-hander. We jig round to the left. Is this going to be a move into the horseshoe from Sangalli? It's not there, Chris. I thought that was going to go into the horseshoe and Sangalli was going to take a run on him.
No, I think Sangalli is biding his time at the moment. Again, like some of the others, will make the move if it's very obvious to make the move. As we might be seeing one from Barriviera here, or potentially Sousa in third. But, there's so much to gain from just fuel saving lap after lap. They've still got half an hour to go. This could be a 3 or 4 second advantage.
Oh, Verdolivo took both people there, Chris, when Baraviera and obviously Kolodzik had their contact. Verdolivo got the run. Now, Verdolivo last time out 141.67. The other guys behind 141.83, 141.9. So he is quicker, but as we've seen, it's kind of harder being out in P1, isn't it? Really, when you think about it, because you've got the other guys drafting you behind.
Well, it's why I was saying earlier about, if anything, you're better off being in fourth in a pack of 4 that are really close together, because you can see what's going on ahead of you. You can make. You're not the one that will be tagged from behind, as we've seen in the GTEs not that long ago.
Yeah.
And it just allows you to make those. You've got all the strategic cards in your hands. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want to be in fourth with 2 laps to go, because you've got to do a lot of work. But with 35 minutes to 30 minutes left, honestly, I think Sousa is the one here that will be happiest, because he's the one at least risk of anything going wrong in this little 3-way battle. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win. Anything could still happen. Roman Verdolivo is a very talented driver, as is William Baraviera. So we'll sort of rely on them to give us the excellent racing they have done for the first half of this race. For the next half of this race.
There you go. We've seen the first part of the excellent racing where these guys were literally basically throw a blanket over the 3 of them coming into that bus stop. They all closed up really tight. Verdolivo's got to be looking at hugging the inside line. Now, that would be the line I would take down into turn 1. But please, guys, fully understand, I am not a racing god. I am a commentator for a reason. So is Mr. Rowlands. So our opinion is our own. Oh, come on, Chris. Let's be honest and open with ourselves. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting above 2K. I don't know about yourself. But,
I am, but that's not in these cars.
Don't tell anyone. Hi, Thomas Mochek. Welcome in. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for joining us this evening as we see the LMP1. I believe that's Jan Curbs taking the inside line. Very risky Jan Curbs move. I believe that car number 14. It is down in 6th place at the 7th place at the moment.
He's pitted though. I think he's running an alternate strategy. Let's see how well that works for him. He is only 40 seconds behind Ollie Cole in second, and it's a 47-second pit lane time. So it's, if he gets some clear air that Ollie Cole doesn't, although Ollie Cole has just come into the pits himself, so maybe, I don't know if Ollie Cole is aware of that, but that might be to try and cover off the strategy. It has promoted Guillem Peepers into second. He has gained 6 places in the LMP1. He is quietly having a very strong race at the moment, so he's one to look out for. I think as well in GTEs, Rambo Jules has gained 9 places. He's up into 6th. He's another one having a pretty solid race that we haven't really mentioned yet. But that's just the thing you get with these races. You don't have to win to have had a good race, so there's still plenty of time to make some extra positions.
Yes, we've got Stengali Carroll battle still going on. 0.50 seconds as they come around turn 6 down onto the 7, 8, the back corner, really, before we hit the back stretch down onto the run into the bus stop. But here we go now. Sengali's close 0.353, closing right up. He's caught the toe of a passing GTE, I believe. But coming down into the bus stop, 2.6, 2.5, 2.4. He's not going to get it done. He's got to get a good exit out of this bus stop. As we see Carroll take a little bit of a slide, run over, and here we go again. This is Sangali now. 0.40 back, 3.9, 3.8, and closing rapidly. Coming down into turn 1, he's just broken 0.30, 2.625. It is coming down at a rate of knots now. Here's Sangali's opportunity. He's got to be looking at trying to get Carroll off that inside line. If Carroll hugs that inside line, Sangali's opportunity is going to be broken. I think he's not going to get it done on this lap. He takes that wide line. Looks for the cutback through the first right-hander. He's not going to get that done either. Sengali's having a go there, Chris, and I think, as you say, neither man has pitted, so maybe that's what he's waiting for.
Yep, and just to sort of highlight how big of a difference it can make, so you can see on the timing tower there that Jan Curbs pitted 4 laps earlier than Ollie Cole. Ollie Cole did make it out ahead, not by a huge amount, it must be said. They're only 4 seconds apart at the moment. But we saw how much Jan Curbs was fuel saving, despite pitting 4 laps earlier and therefore needing to put an extra 4 laps of fuel in. Curbs was only stopped for 13.2 seconds. Ollie Cole was stopped for 14.5. And that might not sound like a lot, but look how small some, like the Barra-Vieira-Verdolivo gap is 0.3 of a second. If Barra-Vieira needs to stop for a second and a half less, he's coming out ahead of Verdolivo. So that's why pit strategy is so important in these cars in this series. So just because Verdolivo is in the lead doesn't mean he's going to win this race necessarily. The pit stops are going to play a huge part in the result tonight, and we are heading into, certainly for the LMP2s, pit window is soon. The GTEs can hold out a fair bit longer though.
Yeah, as we see him down into turn one now, the interesting thing about this is the 143.23 for Verdolivo, 143.43 and a 143.46 from Sosa. So even though the guys had the toe, they were still slightly slower than Verdolivo. Now, obviously, Chris, we're talking about temps. We're not talking about seconds down the road. So we are talking about temps. But them temps, if them temps are continue lap after lap, Verdolivo's going to be clearing their toe, isn't he, going into that pit stop?
I think the trouble is, though, it's so difficult. You need to basically get about a second and a half ahead and maintain that and hope that you don't get pulled up by some traffic or something. Otherwise, they'll be straight back in the draft and they'll catch you back up. And that's why we're seeing these packs developing, or at least these mini battles. And it's why it was so important for someone like Simon Cowlarts to get that jump early in the race, because he's just allowed it to build and build and build. Whereas Verdolivo, we saw him get into the front of this pack and we know how quick he is, but he's just not able to get away from Barra-Vieira or Sosa. And, you know, Lydon Lee is only 3 seconds down the road. I think Bujoa and Jules as well. I think all 6 of the top GTs are still in contention for the race win here. So it's bubbling really nicely at the moment. It's a really nice little narrative developing. Yeah,
we've got 2 groups of 3 as we see the front 3 on the just gone out of the picture now, and then we've got this next 3, Lee, Bujoa and Jules developing further down the line. 7 seconds, we've got Diaz. Unfortunately, he's looking like he's a little bit out of trying to catch up with these guys, but here we go. This is Jules on Bujoa. Definitely a lift there, and there was more of a lift there.
Just think how much less fuel he's going to have to put in his car as a result of doing this lap after lap.
He was lifting all the way down. I think he was even lifting before we even got to the start finishing straight. So we've got a lot of people in the pits. Pipers is in the pits, Barbu's in the pits, Roman Anidis and Hugo Brando, the top 2 from LMP2, are also in the pits together. This is going to be interesting to see where these guys come out. Now, is that going to free up? Dominic is taking the lead in LMP2, and Michael, the recovering Michael Preston, who hasn't stopped, is now back into second place, -1, I believe, started out in front there, Chris. So he's looking strong at the moment, isn't he? He's got a clear gap. You know, he hasn't really got anybody behind him. You know, George's car number 11. Sorry to butcher your name. Couldn't quite get out. 7 seconds down the road. So he's got a kind of a bit of a decent run on the track at the moment. He can just settle in lap after lap after lap, which is going to put him in good stead when he goes into his pit stop.
Yeah, and looking at the stopped times for the LMP2, because all of the top 5 came in on the same lap, and they've all done pit stops where they were stopped for 22 to 23 seconds. The slowest was Michael Romanidis, who was in the lead. So just goes to show you, it's almost a disadvantage to be leading if you're not that far ahead of the rest of the pack. Romanidis does have his 2.5 second gap, so he's not in any immediate danger. But he is basically 1 mistake away from being in the draft of Hugo Brandau. So, again, that is not over and done with yet. But I do think that Dominic Preston and Theodoridis, they are possibly too far back, that unless they've done some insane fuel saving, I don't see them being able to catch up, certainly to the leader, but even perhaps to the rest of that 5-car pack.
Now, we've just seen Sosa. He was at the back of the pack, Chris, and we went on board, and he was lifting and saving. But he's gone in first.
He may not be on an empty tank of fuel. It might be a decision to try and make the undercut, because it often does seem to be the way that the undercut is what it does as Barra-Vieira.
Yeah,
currently ahead of Verdolivo.
Verdolivo. That looks like that was into the horseshoe before they head out to turn 5. There, did Verdolivo get it? Was Barra-Vieira in front going into turn 1? We'll see if we can have a look back and see if that move can get done, so we can see. But I believe, unless that was Barra-Vieira going into turn 1, I believe that may have been a horseshoe move there, which means Verdolivo got very slow. No, it was into the horseshoe. Verdolivo just outbraked himself, went in too deep, got a little bit of a squirm on, and then unfortunately that allowed Barra-Vieira through. So that's Verdolivo making mistakes, but they have all the while dropped Lydon Lee for 2.2 seconds. So
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Side Bouchot is going to win the GTE race tonight because the Leiden Bouchot Jules pack have caught up because of that battling on this lap. They're within 2 seconds now, or at least they were about half a lap ago. And Bouchot has not been at the front of this little pack much at all, so he will have fuel saved an absolute ton. I think he can bridge that 2.5 second gap to Barriviera and Verdolivo, and we've seen before Bouchot, he's pretty handy at overtaking, so he's my I'm going to go for a slight maverick pick here and say that he's our race winner in GTE tonight.
Yeah, you just see Leiden lead. Yeah, Leiden lead peeled off on the left-hand side. But all the while, Jules there now is up. I've got him as up 11 places.
Yep.
Coming into, he's currently sat in 4th place in the GTE. So he's up 11 places and he's looking. Oh, there's an LMP1 on the inside. Let him through, guys. Don't let him get involved with that. So here we go. Jules and Bouchot there. Jules is looking quick, Chris. I've got to be honest. He is looking quite tasty, sat back down there in 4th place.
Yep, it's been a very calm, controlled race. Jules didn't qualify, which doesn't necessarily, we didn't get an idea of what his raw pace was as a result of that. I mean, his fastest lap is slower than everyone else around him, except for Andre Pecker, who's currently in 5th, but I think he's another beneficiary of not having pitted. But you don't need to have raw 1 lap pace to win or be successful even in hour-long sprint races. You have to be basically you have to be a good strategist, especially on an oval track like this. So, I mean, I don't want to dismiss him out of hand, but he's not. I don't think I'm going to pick him to win because he's not as familiar a name to us. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's not rapid. But we've still got a whole pit window to go for the GTEs. They've still got traffic to deal with, as we're seeing Neil de Backer coming through there. It's quite a narrow section of track after turn 1. I find it a struggle. I mean, I'm not as talented as these chaps, but it is a very difficult section of track to pass on. But you can't just wait to the oval banking to make all these passes.
Yeah, they've got to try and get it done. I wasn't going to be losing time, and we saw that with the Fiat Dorolis. He had to try and keep up with Carroll, and he went in to try and clear that GTE, outbraked himself, and we saw the result live on the cameras at a specific time. So we've got Sangali and Carroll now gone through the bus stop, heading down the start-finish straight. It's going to be interesting to see how these guys get on. They go round the GTE, going down into the start-finish straight, 2.6, 2.5, 2.3. Again, we've seen this close. Carroll again takes the inside line. He does like to dive off at the last minute, though, onto the outside. There you go. He kind of leaves that inside line open when Sangali hasn't made the move. And Carroll gets a clean run into turn 1. But, again...
Bit of wall riding there.
Yeah, very close.
Andre Pecker, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately had a little bit of a, wall riding coming out the pits. But, I think this is going to be the run now for Carroll and Sangali all the way down to the end of the race with 17 minutes remaining.
Yep, and it's been to the benefit of Romanidis and Brandau in 1st and 2nd. They've both managed to make a bit of a gap. As all Leiden Lee has been involved in some quite spicy lapped traffic in the last lap or so. Owen Carroll was on voice chat saying he loved him, but that he did slightly compromise his entrance into the bus stop. But
Sagali's gone round. Sagali's gone round. Sorry there, Chris.
Yeah, you're right. He collected number 9.
Yeah, I believe.
Tony Buchner.
He went round, and Buchner unfortunately got caught up with Sangali. Was that Sangali just trying to push past the traffic when he shouldn't have done that? But as Buchner unfortunately takes a little bit of a while to get going again. I believe he was waiting, doing the right thing, and waiting for the traffic to get past him. But that's putting down 11th in class. As we're on board with Buchner, he moves left, so Sagali's got the room. Does Sangali start going round? He does. And then Buchner... Oh, no! He didn't go round under his own fruition there, Chris. Buchner happened to give him a little bit of a nudge on the way through. All the while, though, Chris Barriviera, Verdolivo and Bouchot are all in the pits. So the man that we really want to be concentrating on now would be Sosa, who's pitted. And is he going to get out in front of the other guys in front of him? Because he's going to be looking at the man at the moment that I think... maybe looking at taking this with Leiden Lee and Jules.
Yep, I don't think my pick has worked out because Bouchot is back in 4th and that's a bit of a gap. So he's got caught in traffic there potentially. But Barriviera's come back out because Verdolivo, I'm pretty sure, got past him just before the pit window. So that was all for naught by the looks of it.
Yeah, no, because Barra Vieira cleared him going into the horseshoe, didn't he? Verdeligvo ran in too deep. Got onto the brakes, unfortunately got a wiggle on, and that allowed Barra Vieira through. So Barra Vieira has managed to get back out. But there are these LMP2s that are clearing them in the infield section as well as waiting till the banking. So there has been some patience. But as we saw earlier with Buckner and Sengali, unfortunately, they can happen to come together. As we see the Cowlots, well, he's just 21 seconds down the road, Chris. We haven't really spoke much about him because he's cleared off so far, isn't he?
It is nice to have a quiet race when you're in the lead. It's not very often, but yeah, this has been pretty simple for him, and he doesn't have to take any risks whatsoever now, pretty much at all. 20 seconds, he can sit behind GTs in the infield every lap if he wants. He's still going to win the race if he doesn't make any mistakes or get hit or run out of fuel. That's another consideration we haven't actually talked about yet, is that if anyone's miscalculated their fuel, this is the kind of track where you're going to run out on that last lap or two. So expect some frantic fuel saving from someone, I would say. Probably not Simon Cowlarts, but...
Carlos goes in, he goes in deep.
Just trying to prove us wrong.
Don't pick him up yet, Chris. We've seen him with Taylor Mills last season, out in front by a country mile. And unfortunately, as they're coming together with GTE, runs wide onto the grass, and it kind of all goes wrong for poor Taylor Mills. So let's not count our chickens for Cowlots just yet, as we see the Theodoros and Sengali battle on the infield, going through the horseshoe on the run out through turn 4 into turn 5. We've got our leaders of GTEs in front of us at the moment. Please, guys, keep it clean through this section. I know you want to get through. I know. Look at this, Theodoros. And we've seen Theodoros do this before. Verdeligvo, take the right-hand side. Verdeligvo, take the right-hand side. Let Sengali through.
Yep, this is why the infield is so tricky. But I'll tell you who pitting early has worked out for is Jan Curbs, who is up to third and challenging Ollie Cole now for second. So yeah, that pitting on lap 18, when you compare that to, that's 9 laps earlier than Simon Cowart, who I don't think he was ever going to catch. But yeah, Jan Curbs is now fighting for second position.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, if this wasn't a Jan Curbs thing that we've seen continually last season, I would sit here and be like, oh, that's an amazing drive. But this is just Jan Curbs, isn't it? He kind of does this and manages to pull out drives like he's pulling out now. And
he does it regularly, doesn't make it any less impressive. We've got a couple of people who do it in F3 as well, like Ben Cullen's famous for it, for not qualifying and then coming through the pack, and it is impressive. But you just have to think, what could be? We could be having an epic battle for the win with Simon Cowlarts right now, which is a shame. But he's still provided some good racing for us tonight, and we're talking as though he's already overtaken Ollie Cole. Ollie is still in second, and he is a pretty damn fast driver in his own right. So let's not assume that Jan Curbs is going to finish second yet, because he's still got that task of overtaking Ollie to come. And so far, Ollie's holding him off quite ably.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think it's hard because we do just see Jan Curbs, who generally does not qualify, and comes through the field and finishes in really high positions. So yes, for us, I would have loved to see a Cowlots Curbs battle. Don't get me wrong, in Daytona, that would have been absolutely amazing. But we have got Ollie Cole sat out, who's more than able to hold Curbs off, and we have got the traffic. I believe that's Sengali, so we've got the Sengali Carroll battle as well. Oh no, so Senkari and Theodoros there now. That's the battle in front of them. Guys have gone past there, Chris. 12 minutes remaining. Are you looking now settling in, or are you looking at really trying to push and make up positions?
I think it depends on how comfortable they are with their fuel load. Because it's all well and good pushing, but it's not a track where you can gain tons and tons of time just pushing, because so much of it is at full throttle. And yeah, I mean, you're more likely to make up positions from sensible fuel management. So Michael Preston here, for example, he's got 2 chaps in front of him, Dominic and Riera. Just hold on for a lap or two. Just save that extra bit of fuel. That means you can take advantage of any fuel saving that Dominic or Riera might have to do later on. Because he qualified on pole. He's gonna trust in his own pace, so he doesn't have to do it yet, I would say. But
he's recovering there, Chris, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's recovering back through. He wants that back. He's -5. You know, well, actually, he's a little bit further than that. Yeah, 5. So he qualified in first. He got that unfortunate incident. He wants to get past these guys. I can't see Preston now. He put the fuel in, and this is Preston's run to home. And I reckon if we was to stay on board, That Dominic is going to be under pressure. Oh, got me excited there, Chris. I thought that was going to come to a nasty end for Dominic there in front of him. But I think Preston's going to be taking a run as we see an LMP1 go shooting past him now.
Yep, and then you can see why the GTEs hate the prototypes, but I'm not really sure where else Dominic was supposed to go. As you can see, Jan Kurb's on the right-hand side coming through. There's so much to think about if you're the middle class. You've got the cars you're overtaking, but you've also got to think about the LMP1s coming up behind you as well. It's very difficult to stay mentally alert for this long, and they've been driving for 50 minutes now. They're tired physically and mentally. That's why we're beginning to see some of these mistakes creep in, and this is where we're going to really separate the top drivers from the merely top drivers.
Here we go. This is Preston on board. Dominic is probably on the left-hand side of our screen. They're coming round into turn one. Here we go. Preston's got the job done. Is Dominic going to take a run back down? He's not. He's settled back in behind him, taking that different line again. And Preston is through. And next on his list is Riera. And then that will bring him up into fourth place with the Carroll battle, which I think might be a little bit out of reach with 9 minutes remaining. But never say never. Here is Bashoa. We've got Bashoa tucked up, I believe, with Lyden Lee again. These guys have been all the way through, and sitting in the back is Jules, as we've seen continually, Chris, as well. So 9 minutes remaining. These guys have been at it for 51 minutes. Why not go another 9 and see how we come out? Now, this is... Oh, Lee's gone wide. Lee's gone wide. That's allowed Bashoa through, and Jules. Lee's at the back of the pack now, Chris. But then again, as we said earlier, that's not always a bad thing.
This is going to be a very tasty battle, I think. Look how close all three of them are. They're very trusting, and I think you earn that from 50 minutes of close driving with each other. They know and trust that each other are going to outbrake themselves and crash into each other. I really hope I've not just cursed anyone there, but 50 minutes of driving has been top quality from these three so far. Let's hope we've got another 10 minutes of it to come.
He's coming up the inside. He's coming up the inside of Jules. Is this going to be run down into 6? For Lyden Lee, he's taking it a little bit earlier. I thought he would have been a little bit more... Well, I suppose he took an opportunity to move there, didn't he? Jules runs in slightly deep, leaves the gap open, and there's Lyden Lee slicing his way back through again. He wants to stay with Bashoa. He's got to be looking at trying to get that fourth place off Bashoa. All the while, though, Jules has got to be looking at going, trying to get the position and get back from him. So it was, say, Curbs and Ollie Cole just goes round the horseshoe. Out into turn 4, coming down, going to jig left about now. There you go. There's a left-hander. Round into turn 5, down through the gears. This is going to get spicy. Chris coming down into that bus stop, I think.
Yep, and these two can now properly fight because Peepers is 8 seconds down the road, and obviously Cowlarts has cleared off ahead, so there's not really any danger of them losing a position for fighting at this point. But again, the nature of battling in the LMP1s is that it's more about boost management than it is about, you're not going to see too many dives into corners, although turn 1 here can sometimes be that, as Curbs is not that interested in the draft here, which is fair enough because he's within draft range, and it's nice to see some battling from some serious regulars that aren't just weaving all over the track, I must say.
Yeah, we've got Jules, Lyden Lee and Bashoa. They're still going at it. There you go. Oh, Bashoa goes in deep. Bashoa runs wide. That allows Lyden Lee, and he's under the cush from Jules. You can see him coming down into turn 4. We've got an LMP. Oh, I thought that was going to come there. Please don't get involved because this has been such an epic battle for 53 minutes. And I hate to see it come to an end because we had an LMP1 go diving through. Is that Cowlots there, Chris? Car number, what is that, 27?
Yeah, that is Simon Cowlart.
It is Cowlots, isn't it? Cowlots took a bit more of a chance than I would have thought there. I would have
thought really need to do that, but it just shows you, especially Jules in particular, was very aware there. He backed off nice and early, and that's why he has gained 9 places, which is more than anyone else on the circuit, because of sensible and aware driving like that. You don't need to be the fastest on an individual lap to place well in these kinds of races.
Yeah, we've seen there with Verdolivo. If you look at Verdolivo's time on Barra Vieira, even out at 1.4 seconds, he's still closing at a rate of knots, so Chris. That draft must be really quite effective. Out to about 1.5, and as you see Sosta behind him coming into turn 1. As Verdolivo's dropped back, but has he dropped back because he's not obviously dropped back because of slow, because Verdolivo generally isn't slow. But has he dropped back because of the traffic situation he's having to manage all the while in the circuit?
I think so, but let's also not forget just how high the track temperatures are, and these tyres are now going to be 55 minutes old. So I think that's probably playing a little bit into it as well. We're going to see a lot more of these sort of mini mistakes. Drivers of this caliber don't make particularly that many massive mistakes, but you can still lose the odd half tenth in a corner from just losing concentration ever so slightly. And that can just build and build, and you end up losing a lot of time as we see a lot of curb and maybe a bit of grass there for Sousa.
Yeah, as you see down on the bottom of your screen, we've got the sector times from Verdolivo and Sousa there. You know, I think it's going to be interesting. We've got Verdolivo at 1.96 seconds back. Sosa 0.33, and he's closing at a rate of knots as well, 3.2, 3.0. It'd be like one big count if I try to count down as quick as you see one of the back of runners go through there on the right-hand side of your screen. Cuts back in front. I'm hoping that hasn't, I'm sure it hasn't put Verdolivo off for the quality that Verdolivo's got. But again, that gap's back out to 2 seconds now on Barra Vieira. If you're Barra Vieira and you've got a spotter, he said, right, they're 2 seconds back, 4 minutes remaining, 4.5 minutes remaining. Sensible driving now, Chris, from Barra Vieira, do you think?
Nah, it's balls to the wall time. It's time to get those fastest laps.
You reckon? I couldn't do it. 4 minutes remaining, 2 seconds. That would be the last thing I'll be definitely not doing. But Sosa and Verdolivo coming in turn one. I think you've got your. Where did your aggressive side come back from anyway, Mr. Rowlands?
This is all the Christmas and New Year's food. Is it?
Oh yeah, here we go. Jules
right
and Lee. Sorry there, Chris. Oh, Jules, what's happened there? Is that Lyden Lee back through?
He's in the middle.
He's in the middle, isn't he? But Show is still back out in front again. Sorry, it took a while for my timing tower to kick off. But all the while, Jules is still at the back. 3.5 minutes. These guys have been going at it now. Just over 56 minutes of constant. And these are the only cars these three have seen, haven't they, really? They haven't really touched on the leaders. But as you say, it just goes to show the quality that these three are still on track 57 minutes later.
Yeah, and it's nice to get some close battling that has remained clean throughout, and it's also been sensible. When we saw in the previous 3 laps when Jules and before him Lyden Lee both outbraked themselves, they didn't panic. They committed to the fact they were going late, let the car back through, and just tucked in behind them so that no one lost any time and no one was really in any danger of losing out too much. So it's been very sensible, measured driving while still remaining close and competitive, which is really what we want to see.
Yeah, there's none of the what I call the instant cutback when you run in deep and the car in front runs in deep. You go to overtake him, and next thing you know, the car has just come straight across your front end. And unfortunately, it's taking you out where he's running deep, turned right really quickly. And the next thing you know, you've got this car recovering straight in front of you. But I think, again, Chris, that gives us the different quality, doesn't it? You know, these guys are aware that they've got in deep. They're aware that they missed it. And here we go to Lyden Lee. Lyden Lee is on the left-hand side. Bashoa is on the inside with Jules. Is Lee? See, I don't know why. If I was Jules, I would have tucked up behind Bashoa and looked. Oh, so close. So close. Side by side going through the front part, the first part of the S's. They're still side by side going into the horseshoe. But unfortunately, Bashoa cannot get the job done. Lyden Lee hugged the right-hand side. He took the inside of the horseshoe, and literally, if Bashoa was going to get it, Lee was there going, you're only going one side, mate, because I am having this inside line. And we're expecting it again coming into turn 5. There you go. Oh, Lee went it a little bit wider than he wanted to. That's allowed Bashoa to come all the way back up into turn 5. Going down into turn 6. We've still got Jules sitting at the back, and I believe that's the LMP2 there as well, sat there waiting, but I think he's been a little bit more patient than some of our drivers that we know. Heading around the first part, we've still got Lyden Lee, Bashoa and Jules. These guys are literally less than half a second apart, guys. And we've got car number 1, Romanides, who we haven't really seen much of in the LMP2. He's just kind of cleared off down the road. I think it's about 13 seconds back to Brando now. But the battle is in the 4th, 5th, 6th of the GTEs, coming in with 1 minute 14 remaining. Are we going to see another lap?
It's going to be very, very close. Simon Cowell is about 0.4 of a lap. He's 40% of a lap round. I think we are going to see another lap on top of this one, and it will be effectively a 61.5-minute race nearly, which I think is going to... Somebody is going to get caught out by that in terms of their fuel, I think.
You reckon? So here we go. We've got Jules now has made the move past Bashoa. Lyden Lee cuts in front of him going into turn one, takes a little bit of a wider line. Bashoa's kind of settled in round the back. As these guys have gone round turn one, Carlos is coming round the back straight with 30 seconds left. I believe this is going to be... is he going to get... He'll get across the line, definitely. So this is the white flag lap for Simon Cowlotz, who, mind you, is a 23.61 second gap to Jan Kerb. So there we go. We are on the white flag. Simon Cowlotz out in front. Oh, Bashoa! Bashoa has gone from LMP1. Who was that in the LMP1 that sent poor Bashoa, with less than one lap remaining, flying off into the barrier?
And that looks like it's number...
Car number 15.
That's Roberto Barbu.
Barbu.
That's how Bashoa's race ended.
That is not a Barbu incident. We saw him a couple of times last season. We never really would see that. But unfortunately, that's put Bashoa out. He still remained in sixth, luckily enough there, Chris. He hasn't lost miles amounts of places, but unfortunately, we could have seen an epic battle from these guys up front.
We're going to see how much damage he's got, because Diaz is not that far behind him now. It's only 2 seconds, and then Pecca a further 8 seconds behind. I think he's probably safe from Pecca, but I think Jorge Diaz is going to get a freebie here, and there's nothing really that Bashoa could have done differently there. It's just one of those things. It's really unfortunate to see. It does happen. It just shows, again, like you say, even the safest drivers can sometimes have incidents like that. Yeah, but here we go. Simon Cowlotz is coming around the last corner, wrapping up the our ESS at Daytona. There's Cowlotz going through, flashing his lights, weaving frantically. Your winner of the LMP1s and overall winner, Simon Cowlotz. In now, there's a close between second and third. Jan Kerbs has got past Ollie Cole, but they're not overly far back, I believe, from each other. Oh, actually, it's a little bit further than my track map was looking at. So Jan Kerbs is going to come across in second place. There you go, just about now. So congratulations to Jan Kerbs and Ollie Cole, second and third, respectively. Pipers in fourth, Rodriguez in fifth. Hugo Brando is going to be wrapping up second in the LMP2 field, I believe. And this is the battle for Sosa and Verdolivo going in round the banking, coming into the bus stop. These guys are still fighting. They're on their last lap. Sosa goes... Oh, that looks tactical. Chris, I don't know about you, but that looked a lift off from Verdolivo. It's very, very risky. He's got to get this run. Because you've got to get it now, yeah. He's got to get this run down. Is this Verdolivo? If he cannot get Sosa off that run and off that inside line, Sosa's only got to let it drift. This is the run down to the line. Sosa and Verdolivo. Is that Verdolivo? Oh, is this going to be Verdolivo's race? Sosa takes the inside line again. Oh, I don't know. I think Verdolivo may have just got it, but if Verdolivo did get it, I've just had word in my ear, confirmation, Verdolivo got it. 0.005 of a second between them. Wow. That's mad. That is, going into turn one. I don't know who that was, but he went in like an absolute rocket. The recovery in Saeed Bashoa, unfortunately for you, down in sixth place. So nice and good recovery. Didn't lose any positions. Unfortunately, I believe at the time he was in sixth. The incident with Barbu happened, and they got, unfortunately, coming together going into turn 5. So, wow, Chris, that hour, where did it go? But here we go. You got LMP1. Winner is Simon Cowlotz. Absolutely massive gap there down to Jan Kerbs and Ollie Cole, who's a little bit closer, second and third, respectively. Piper's in fourth, Rodriguez in fifth, DeBacker sixth, Barbu seventh, Neil DeBacker at eighth, Maurice Jasinski in ninth, and Dominic Englick rounds out your top 10 in the LMP1 field. In LMP2 now, Romanidis was your winner by 6.7 seconds. Brando was out in second place. Owen Carroll was in third. Now, the recovery in Michael Preston was absolutely amazing. It got past the Riera and Dawson, so he was up into fourth place. Great job from him. Riera in fifth, Dawson in sixth.
Theodorodis is in 7th. Dominic is 8th. Sengali 9th. And Massing in 10th place. Now in the GTEs, we've got Barra Vieira. Oh, wow. He come out in front. He got a little bit lucky with traffic there from the Verdalivo Sosa, who, as we know, has just finished 0.005 of a second ahead of Sosa in 3rd place. That was a risk I'm not sure I would have taken. Leiden Lee in 4th. Jules is in 5th. Bashoa, unfortunately, on the last lap, got tagged from an LMP1, but he still finished 6th, respectively. Diaz, Pesha, Kanta, Collector, Denia rounds out your top 11 in the GTEs there, Chris. So as we go into the championship for the LMP1, Jan Curbs is on 61 points. Simon Carlos is on 51. I think them two we're going to be looking at the next 8 weeks, and I believe these two are going to be having this constant backwards and forwards. I believe it's a lot closer than it was last season, so I'm excited to see how this turns out. Jim DeBacker in 3rd, Pasco Nelly's in 4th, Luke Santos 5th. Pizzo, Maya, Engel, and Kerry, and Ollie Cole rounds out your top 10. In the LMP2s, we've got Owen Carroll out in front, up an amazing 8 places, up to 30 points. But I believe not many, no, Pap Deck Williamson wasn't there this evening. So Roman Anidis taking the win tonight is up into 5th. Mr. Stuart Bickley is in 6th. Alexander Spetz was not here either. Giroli, Brando, and Baumeister rounds out your top 10 there. And finally, we got GTEs. We got Haas in 1st place on 25 points. Vitrudev on 25. Mac on 25. Charvet on 25. And, of course, our winner this evening, Barra Vieira, is on 25 points as well. Saeed Bashoa recovering, still up 5 places on 20. Monterio in 7th. He's on 18th. Owen is in 8th on 18 points as well. And Wagner on 18. And Lion Lee on 18. And why I'm there, Verdalivo, he's on 18 as well. So there's a group of drivers on 18. Verdalivo's not got the same commanding lead. Neither is Jan Curbs. And the mixture of LMP2 drivers this season, Chris, I think, there's been an exponential amount of LMP2 drivers. It's going to be spicy for the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and Watkins Glen next week is my favourite track, so I think that's going to be a lot of fun indeed.
So, Chris, LMP1, you're going to be in an LMP1 next week. Watkins Glen commentating at the same time. Is that correct?
I'll be commentating. I'm not sure I'd get into top split anyway. I'm also not sure the other drivers would appreciate my presence.
Hey, Maurice Jasinski got in top split tonight, Chris, on 13.94 IR. So if you're over 2K, you'll be in there, wouldn't you, next week?
Yeah, we'll see. I can tank my iRacing, I'm sure. Right.
So, Chris, come on. Famously, do you need a sentence, or can you give us the famous Chris Rowlands one-word ending to the broadcast?
Drafting.
So, drafting.
Yes, there we go.
There we go. Right, stop talking now, Chris. Right, guys, so what is TSS? Before, I think last year you did the 1-2 words, but then you gave us like about 3 paragraphs after. So, guys, what is TSS? We are coming back on Saturday for the FTR at Charlotte. We've got 2 races at Charlotte, 2.5 hours per race, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So we're going to be live round about 5 p.m. GMT as well. So please join us and tune in if you are here. And we also have the charity race for cancer on Monday as well, which is a TCR MX5 mixed field. So that is going to be absolutely amazing. And we're going to be live at 8 p.m. as well. I am there myself for that event. So please tune in, guys. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Turn on them bells for notification. And as always, we say at the end of the night, how was the race, guys? Richard Simnar, you missed an absolutely epic battle in the GTs, coming right down to the line from Verdalivo and Soso, finished 2nd and 3rd, respectively. But as always, guys, thank you so much for giving us this love and support. Much appreciated for you this evening. Hit that thumbs up, hit that like, turn on them bells for notification. And as always, from me, Chris, and producer Sean, take care, have a safe week, and we might see you on the track sometime.